Gonna broadcast.
I'm live and on air.
Fuck you looking at?
I don't know.
Alright, well, welcome everybody. We're live here in Konoha, Japan? With a question mark? We're doing a
Hey man, you should know this better
welcome
than I
to
do.
shut the fuck up. Welcome to the Culture Combat podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about culture, Japan, China, all the differences in between, and we eventually probably go way off topic, and Reiner probably dies at some point of alcohol poisoning.
That'd
Welcome.
be great. Welcome all. So this particular first episode is going to be about China and Japan, their science and technology, and things that made them unique. Eventually we will branch on to other different cultures and types of stuff. So it's not just going to be primarily China and Japan.
But yeah. Alright, so let's go ahead and start out with the tools. I do have some stories for you guys later though about mythology. We will delve a little bit into that.
Alright, well, Derek's going to cover the Japanese portion, and I'm going to cover the Chinese portion.
It's because I'm a weeaboo and he's just a bitch.
I'm just a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like Chinese tools and everything that they used, the main majority of like their technology was a mix of industrial. A lot of it had to do with production, mass production in weapons and stuff like that.
Mainly for the fuel era that would mainly involve shotguns.
During the time of 1185, like that's the start of the feudal era for Japan. China's history was a bit different due to the fact that at that point in time, a lot of them were like at war, trying to take over China.
A whole lot of civil
and
war.
Conquer all that. Yeah, a lot of civil wars going on. And after that, Mongolia kind of invaded China right after they settled on, I guess, a brief moment of
the other
peace
side of the wall.
Yeah. But yeah, no. The interesting thing about China is that their gunpowder that they developed, like, they were actually like using it to make missiles and guns and that kind of stuff. A lot of that came later, but they were responsible for the first flamethrower and incendiary grenade.
Oh, fireworks,
using
yes.
a lot of their chemicals. Oh yeah, and fireworks. Apparently, what they were trying to do originally when creating gunpowder was for elixirs and that kind of stuff, and then they discovered it.
They were trying to make people drink gunpowder.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
I'm American. I do it.
It was something to do for like curing and medicinal purposes, and then
I
they
thought it was just to make your
that...
farts explosive, but all right.
Yeah, well, someone farted and it exploded, and they were like, "Damn, we're onto something."
Hey, do you think? Yeah, about to say, do you think that's how they discovered like gunpowder? They're just like, wow, that guy fucking knocked down a wall.
I would hope not, but at the same time, like that's gotta be it, man. Explosive diarrhea, straight up.
Alright.
But, yeah, mostly what I can say about their gunpowder techniques is it started out with fire and explosives, flamethrowers, and then they started to develop cannons, handguns. They actually made the first handgun. They made grenades.
Wait, fuck you. Japan had the Fukaya, which was a fucking gun, dart. The thing.
Yeah. Japan, though, didn't really
which
take
just
up
means
after...
death from sun. Which just means death from not so far.
Although I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think Japan really developed any guns until the Europeans came in the 1500s.
Well, they developed shotguns during the feudal era. Like, people were running around with shotguns fucking left and right. That was later into the feudal era, though, after the steel age was on its way out, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, ancient
On to
China,
the like
like,
up until the Edo period, like that and shit like that.
yeah. Although during the like, and this is farther than we wanted to go, but I do want to mention, during the 1400s they did develop the first kind of missiles, and I believe they also that's where the grenades came out. They started mixing shrapnel, metal shrapnel with their gunpowder and creating actual grenades and using. Okay, so they had this thing called, I believe it was the Flying Dragon, and they would use it for naval battles, and they would have this. I'm assuming it was made out of porcelain. I don't know the material. I don't think it was porcelain. It had to be iron or something. But basically, it was this long dragon that would be fueled by um,
Hatred.
hatred. Yeah,
Hmm.
gunfire in a sense, gunpowder, like a missile, like fuse
Ah,
that would
American hatred.
launch it. Yeah, yeah. It'd be launched to the enemy, and if it collided with one of their ships, the enemy ships, it would do massive damage. But it had a contingency plan just in case it wasn't close enough, where in its mouth it would shoot out arrows attached to um, other fuses that would go off. So they would also launch fiery arrows into people's ships. And like at the speed that it was going, like that stuff would penetrate armor and skin. No problem. Like totally annihilate people.
Why wasn't that in Mulan?
See, that's a question like I was just thinking about is that did it Mulan from the Mongolian invasion?
Well, yeah, Mulan was in that era. They were still dealing with the issues of the Mongolians and shit like that. Because I mean, she fought
Yeah, but
them.
I know, but I thought the Mongolians took over China completely. So how did she
Ah,
save China?
because it's a fucking Disney movie.
I figured, yeah, but that was amazing because like I actually thought about that and I was like, wait a second, this bitch saved China, but yet they still lost.
Somebody
So
just
I'm
walked in front of the
confused.
camera. What a bitch. She's not
Yeah,
professional at
fuck that
all.
guy. I'm guessing I don't know if there's a Mulan 2, but if there's not a Mulan 2, I'm guessing that's why.
If only.
But the other stuff that China developed technology-wise is they actually created a calendar. And when I say they created a calendar, they created it in a form of a computer, in a sense. Um, they had this whole gear rotation thing. I don't necessarily know how it was powered or how like it was made and everything, but there are blueprints to it. But basically, it was this big tower that like had all these openings and it rotated and it had like a globe on top. And like China knew that the stars rotated around the earth and they knew about the seasons and all of that. They believed that the seasons and the star alignment um, reflected on their future outcomes. They believed that if the stars were aligned right, then they would be victorious in their wars. Or if the stars aligned wrong, then they would have to brush up on their defenses because something bad was coming. So they had that going for them. They had factories that were like say for making swords and everything, or grinding up grain, or not grinding up grain, but mashing down grain. They would have this weird contraption that mixed like a water wheel with a bunch of other like at that point in time advanced inner workings, and
Mm-hmm.
they would have these hammers come down and mash up um, their materials to make their swords with, and they could make like um, the amount of swords that would take like 10 different sword masters or even more than that, and you would only need like one or two. Like as big as the factory would be, they just sit around and wait for their materials to be done, and so two people could do the work of hundreds. And so that's where
How
all their
many
weapons were
men do you
coming
think
from.
it would? How many men do you think it would take back then to make like an operational fleshlight out of metal? How many man hours do you think that would take?
I mean, I don't a fleshlight.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, I don't think you'd be using
Well, they had
iron for
leather.
that.
The fuck you. The casing can be iron.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, like, I'd imagine if they were to do that, they would use like bamboo and create something with that.
I don't want a bamboo splinter in my dick. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I know,
I
but
think you're
it'd
going on
have
board
like
with that.
insulation on it. Like, you're not gonna get,
Okay, first of all, you
bamboo
did
splinters
you
on
didn't
your
even
dick.
understand how they could do it to begin with. Now you're actually trying.
I I am trying to ask a question, man.
Well, another
Although,
another
as
thing that
absurd
China,
of a
another thing
question
China
as it
came up
is.
with is a way to not be bored all the fucking time. They were the first ones to create games such as Go and chess. Well, chess originated in
Yeah.
Southeast Asia. Whether it was China or not, I'm not quite positive.
Yeah, I didn't look into that actually. I spent mostly on
Oh,
their
have you never played
technology
Go?
and weapons. I I've played an app that was called Go. I played Hitman Go. I don't know if
That's
that's
not the same.
equivalent.
No, it's not. All right, continue with your fucking dudes pounding each other, whatever you're talking about. Oh, metal, pounding
But
metal.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, a lot of the stuff that came out of China from the ancient civilizations um, really made other scholars have to rethink their history books on who came up with what first, including oxidizing chromatic metal.
Mm-hmm.
They so I don't remember the guy, all right, but maybe you can help me here.
Mm-hmm.
There was a leader that died and had a tomb, and his tomb was surrounded by like 8,000 uh, Japanese or not Japanese, damn it, Chinese soldiers that were made out of clay.
Hmm.
It's like one of the wonders of the world.
China, I mean, I'm better with
And I'll look it up.
Wait. You talking about the Terracotta Army?
Yeah, the Terracotta Army.
Oh, that
All right.
was Jin Quinn. Like, how do you pronounce his name? It's Qin. I know that.
That would be Quinn.
Are you sure?
But let me. I don't know. I hope so. All right, let me
I
look it
believe
up.
that was Emperor Quinn,
Terracotta.
because he was the first emperor, right? It was yeah, I think it was the first emperor. This is why you're the Chinese person, I'm the Japanese guy.
All right, Emperor Qin Shi Huang. Yeah, Qin. Okay, so his terracotta army pretty much stayed in good condition. A few of them look rough, but the amazing thing about it is that they all had weapons. And after the thousands and thousands of years that they stayed there, their weapons were still in good condition and sharp enough to cut. And archaeologists, wondered why, and they took
I would
it
hope
into
so.
scientists
If
who
Asia's famous
studied,
for anything, it's their steel.
and they discovered there's a dark layer on top of all of the swords. I mean, that cover all of the swords, and that was chromatic metal. Like, they figured out a way to oxidize chromium and apply it to their weapons to
And
make it last basically forever.
yeah, I guess they would mainly have to, because you got to remember that well, most of the civil wars and shit that took place, it was most of the population that would take part in them, which means they would have not enough materials, not they couldn't make enough weapons for the amount of soldiers they had. So I imagine having your weapon be able to last a long time out in the field would probably be ideal, because mostly what was happening was unarmed soldiers going into battle and then picking up a weapon off of their dead ally.
Hold on, I heard about that. Didn't that happen in World War II as well?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Not enough
So you'd have
ammunition.
like 1,000.
Not enough gunpowder.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
For
you'd
them
have
in that
1,000
case.
soldiers in front that had weapons, and then you had 1,000 soldiers behind them, or however, whatever the number was.
But also back onto wait, what? Finish?
No, go ahead.
No, you finish.
No, you're good.
God damn it.
No, all I was saying is, yeah, you had like a bunch of people behind them picking up the guns of the fallen. Although originally, when I heard about that, I didn't know how it was done, so I assumed that you had a bunch of people in front with no weapons just rushing in to get shot, which is why I'm not a
Getting shot
military
from their
leader
allies
because
from behind too.
yeah, right? No, like I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but then when I was like, "Oh, they pick up the guns from behind," because I was like, "What do you do? Just send a bunch of peasants in with nothing?" And then they caused a diversion, I guess.
It must have been a fucking damn good one.
So yeah, thankfully I'm not a military leader. But
Anyway, well,
so what?
on that topic about you were talking about the tomb. An interesting tomb I'm actually aware of for Japan is one of the rural tombs. It was a grave made for one of the first chiefs. Graves. It was a grave of the first chiefs and the emperors of Japan. Like, it was like a gigantic mass grave area that is fucking huge. And what really cool about it is the ice surrounded by it's surrounded by a line of forests, like a line of forest trees that goes into the shape of like a door, like, you know, flat bottom, and then it goes up and arcs at the top like a circle. And then in the very center of it, surrounded by water, is a shape that looks exactly like a keyhole. So it's basically a giant door with a keyhole. Kingdom Hearts is real. Fight me, America.
That's amazing. So what can you say about Japan and their um coming to power, feudal era, all that kind of stuff?
When they're coming to power, the feudal era was, I don't know. It's a difficult topic because there's so much to say. Like, if you want information that's more about their weapons, their blades, and their technology, most of that was somewhat similar to China, except for the different stylings of weapons and tools they made.
Yeah.
Like, for
Just
instance,
all right.
China would have traditionally used more narrow, long weapons compared to like Japan that would use maybe shorter, not as narrow, like say for instance for the katana, compared to like, I was about to say odachi, but that's a Japanese sword too. What are any of the swords that were used by like their chiefs? I can't quite
I
remember the
will
name of
say
it.
that
What is it?
Chinese swords were after they started with their factories, they could start getting them longer than I guess normal swords
Yeah, Japan
because
wasn't.
the way their production was working.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing that China definitely did excel at, was the making of their blades. Japan also did have their own the special mineral that they used before, like they used iron and steel and shit.
Yeah. To the little bit that I know about Japan and the feudal era and how that started, the end of the last era, was that there were two major opposing factions, and they were not really into getting their hands dirty because they had a lot of property. Their money came from real estate. And so they had deals with their property to defend their land and whatnot. And anytime the major factions would raise taxes or anything like that, there'd be some uprising in that area. But most of the war was fought between two different factions that were like highly regarded military clans. Minamoto was one, and I'm not quite sure on the other, but the Minamotos obviously won the war and took over Japan in the beginning of the feudal era. And after that, they had their hierarchy. There was still the emperor, but then there was the shogun, who pretty much controlled most of the land. After that, I believe, under the shogun is the daimyo, which were the leaders of the cities, and then their leaders had samurai, which were the police of the cities and whatnot. And samurais were not just about killing, they also had capture techniques like chains and whatnot they would bound criminals with. So I'm pretty sure you can carry on with what I'm saying.
Right. Well, back in the feudal era, one weapon that doesn't really get mentioned a lot is the fact that how often bows were used. Like back before shotguns, you know, eventually took over. Like
Yeah.
bows were
Yes.
used by even samurai would carry around bows. Like say like the samurai, traditional samurai wouldn't just carry around a katana. Like, you know, like anime
Yeah.
seems to think they would carry around a katana, a bow. They would also carry their flag. It was also a weapon. Flag had the very sharp end, be used as a spear in most cases. Along with their armor that normally was made to represent, well, many things in different cases, depends on what samurai. Certain samurai that serve certain shogun, their armor would represent that shogun. Whether it be the color represented by the household, or whether like the headpiece have some special piece. I don't know what to call the top layer piece.
Yeah.
But they had a lot of similarities when it came to makings of weapons and tools, probably because it was all made around in Asia, and like they pretty much had access to the same exact stuff. But of course, it was most of it was influenced by like the medieval era. Is also where the majority of weapons are influenced from to begin with.
Well, from my understanding, the Asia, like, they weren't really influenced by European culture, so.
Yeah, that's why you didn't see them using maces and shit like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So
Well,
I
they
don't
were
know.
still
It's also
I believe they
fascinating.
still had axes, but I believe those were more for tools. Like, of course, they used saws and axes and the traditional tools like that. But not sure
Yeah.
if any of them actually used axes for like war.
I just find it amazing that, as separated as Europe was from Asia, I mean, I don't think it was that separated. But they didn't come in contact with each other, and they still relatively develop the same stuff. Like how two different people can just come up with the same ideas and start going down a rabbit hole of inventions and stuff like that. It's fascinating to me.
Well, I don't know. There's a weapon that also not a lot of people talk about that was a main weapon used by not so much samurai, but more so like the other members of the military and shit like that. Like they would be
Yeah.
given to people who were unarmored in order to take out armored allies. Not allies. What the fuck? Why would you want to take out an armored ally? I don't know. Maybe the fucking shogun's on some shit. I don't know. But it was called one. There were two of them. One was called the Tekkan, and the one was called fuck it. What was it? It sounds like Himawari from Hachiwari. That's what it's fucking called. And they were made extremely heavy in order to crush the armor of the allies. So like you could not be. It basically was not known to be wielded with armor because it was so damn heavy. And so it was not an easy weapon to
Alright.
use. But the weapon was just made extremely dull and extremely heavy in order to crush armor. So it was like an
Yeah,
armor
similar
crushing
to
sword.
maces.
Yeah, similar to maces, exactly. That's what made me think of it, because it's just an armor crushing sword, just straight metal. But I guess they didn't know what maces yet.
Yeah. I
Oh,
believe
I'm sorry. Was that you?
the like used.
Finish that discussion.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I was talking about like, yeah, that's what. But yeah, moving on. It's,
That-
I don't know what's going on.
Leave the party and come back quickly.
All right. Well, he put it to private.
Well, you can still come back. You're already in the party.
Oh yeah.
Well, either way, hurry up.
Alright, how about now?
Oh, we'll see how it goes.
Alright, so party is now private. I don't know what's going on.
I changed it.
Okay. Alright, so I was gonna ask like invention. Oh wait, you said you basically knew the weapons. One of the weapons. So the samurai had actually several weapons, including you didn't mention the short sword. They usually some dual wield their katana and a short sword, and then they would hit it.
Alright, you keep cutting out, and I can't understand a word you're saying.
Good. All right. Just change my internet if it's becoming a problem. Turn on my hotspot.
Ooh, I wonder how that would go. That'll probably kick you out of everything.
It will, but I'll rejoin and everything and start everything up again. All right.
Nope, you're still breaking up.
Still breaking up. I switched my internet and everything.
Oh, well, maybe it was your mic, man. Not
Like,
quite
how
sure.
bad is the trend?
You cut out like every fifth word.
Just restart my system. Maybe that'll help.
No, well, that's just gonna ruin the stream. So are we done?
Well, no, I'm not done. My stream ended when I switched my. Bring the stream back up.
That's gonna be separate videos on my channel then.
I mean, you're continuing, and the edited down version should be fine. You'll just have to record re-record two different, go on YouTube, and everything that we do will be saved videos.
Okay, you keep cutting out. I can't understand a word you're saying.
Alright,
Alright, well, it looks like stream's over, everybody. I guess we'll catch you next time. Maybe what's at the end of that topic.